Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for On the Money, presented by Embassy National Bank.
Hi, everybody. This is Joe Moss, and you are listening to On the Money, the #1 small business show on the Business RadioX platform. As you know, I'm the president at Embassy National Bank, and Embassy is our very loyal sponsor. We put this show together to discuss topics that are very helpful to small businesses, because at Embassy and personally, we want to see small businesses succeed. So today we're going to talk about actually analyzing consumer buying habits, and we have Mr. Brian Gracon he has his own company. He's going to talk about a concept called meconomics. So, Brian, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Joe. Great to be here.
Yeah, and I guess with technology the way it is today, we can analyze all the consumer buying habits and then figure out how to adopt those and actually improve our sales or make our sales more consistent.
We sure can. Technology gives us access to everybody's everything. So, for example, I can watch the marketing campaigns back as far as I want for all the companies in the country, and then distill from that what their themes are and what their strategies are, and then make those available to other people. That's why we're here talking.
And then talk a little bit about your background.
Sure. I've got about 20 years experience as a training, designer, developer, and presenter of platform training, 10 years in the corporate world, 10 years as an independent. In the last several years, I've added marketing consulting to the plate of services that I offer to my clients.
Okay. And you've done a lot of work with the big guys, right?
Sure have. I was the training director for the Stainmaster carpet business in North Georgia, the home of carpet in the country.
Okay.
That says something. And as an associate with a company called Prospero Learning Solutions, I've been the lead instructional designer on a number of projects for Coca-Cola, Walmart, Citibank, Starbucks, quite a few heavy hitters.
Okay. And so talk about meconomics.
Meconomics is a concept that starts with a woman named Martha. Can I tell you a story about Martha?
Okay, good.
Martha was somebody I met in a class I was taking. I was preparing to leave the corporate world and form my own company, and so I wanted to make sure I was on solid financial footing. Went to this class to help me prepare, and one of the people in the class was a woman named Martha. She would come to class in tears, leave in tears, and miss about every third class. And after she missed a couple classes, I got really curious. Martha, what's going on? She said, I've got really severe financial problems. I don't know what to do. My husband spends all our money and money we don't have. Well, where were you last week, Martha? Well, I couldn't take the stress anymore, so I flew off to Miami, stayed on the beach, rented a sports car, went out to some nice restaurants, and for 2 or 3 days I didn't have a care in the world. And then she broke down in tears again because she realized what she had done to herself. That was the first time I asked myself, why do people make the buying decisions that they do? Fast forward a couple years. I'm doing a number of projects working for Coca-Cola. Some of those meetings are on Friday afternoons. I'm leaving downtown Atlanta, driving to Ellijay, Georgia, where I live, and I go by the Cumberland Mall. And you can't find a parking spot in the mall on a Friday night. And I want to stop for dinner, and you can't get into a good restaurant without a 2 or 3 hour wait. And you walk into the mall, and there's a waiting line out in the hall for the nail salon. Mm-hmm. And again, we're in a recession at the time, and yet look at how people are spending their money. Again, the question in my mind was, why are people spending money the way they are? That led to the concept of meconomics. A lot of research I did onto companies that were recession-proof, as well as a lot of companies since. How are they marketing their goods and services to get people to buy, especially the recession-proof companies?
That's interesting because you have a statement in our little show prep that said many luxury car dealers, I wouldn't expect that one, coffee shops, I would, restaurants, I wouldn't expect it, spas, I wouldn't, and entertainment businesses never experienced the recession.
Often with growth rates of 5 to 10 or above 10% every year, even during the recession.
So, and here are some of these, coffee shops I can see. It's a $5 to $10 kind of spend. You don't really think about it. But restaurants, spas, entertainment businesses, and luxury car dealers, you would think those are the ones that get whacked in a recession.
You would think so, but people are spending money. The reason is, why are they spending money on the things they are? There's a lot of market research and neuromarketing research, putting electrodes on people's heads and all that sort of thing, trying to figure this out. I took a different approach. I looked at what people are doing with their wallets and where are they spending their money. From those recession-proof companies, I then tried to extract what are the strategies they're using, how are they targeting customers, which customers are they targeting so that their businesses can continue to grow even during a recession.
What could you come away with? Let's start with the luxury car dealers. I'm curious.
Well, I like a rule of three. One of the examples I had there was Mercedes-Benz, the perfect combination of want and need. It was kind of their approach. Notice they put wants before needs. It's not about transportation. It's about what you emotionally want from the purchase. And so looking at them and many other companies, I distilled three key variables or strategies. I call them lenses because these companies are looking at the marketplace through these lenses that are the foundation of meconomics. The first lens is self-image. Can I appeal to or help someone create their self-image? And from the examples I gave you, think spas and nail salons, cosmetics companies never saw a recession. What's your self-image? Number two, are you entertaining people? That's the second lens. Provide an enjoyable shopping experience, customer experience, or product or service. Think amusement parks. And three, pamper. Can I pamper myself with this purchase? Think the luxury cars. If you can appeal to one or more of those three lenses, self-image, entertain, and pamper, you have the heart of a successful marketing strategy. And what I've tried to do then is make those strategies available to small businesses, as well as think about selling processes and business management that parlays them in an integrated way.
All right, so let's just take, at the bank, we bank a lot of hoteliers. So you would have a campaign, I guess, that would, and I guess I see some campaigns relative to the business traveler. So what they're trying to suggest, they're trying to appeal to that self-image as a business traveler, I would think.
And what is that person's self-image? Because you've hit on a critical element. Good point, Joe, that you have to understand the self-image of your target customer and then market to it and provide beyond that a selling experience that leverages it. So what is the target self-image of your customers? Is it I'm a professional? Is it I'm very thrifty when I travel or somewhere in between? Is it I'm deserving? Is it I'm a do-it-yourself kind of guy and I want a coffee bar and not a $5 coffee in a restaurant? What is the self-image? And then market it in your targeted marketing.
So you try to determine then, for example, if there's a segment out there that says, I deserve to be well taken care of because I'm traveling, then you'd go after that.
I would go after that in that way. You deserve to be treated well. Look at everything you're doing. You're giving to the company. You're away from family. You deserve the very best, and that's why you should come to our hotel because we'll treat you that way.
Or if you're trying to sell an economy hotel, you'd say, look, you're very mindful of your money, but you'd really like to stay at a clean place. We get it. Come stay with us.
That's right. No frills. You won't pay for things you don't need. You would market that way. Two very different campaigns based on the self-image of your targeted customer.
And so, and then the want need. Now that I think about it, Mercedes is all about wanting me to want that car.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think in terms of demographics when I analyze marketing campaigns. I think of emographics. What's the emotional composition of your customer base? Because emotion's powerful, emotion sells. Can you understand and therefore target those emotions? That's what the luxury car dealers are doing.
Okay. And then the entertaining piece of it, I guess you kind of split that as well. You kind of say, here are the people that deserve to eat a good meal once a week, or they feel like they deserve a good meal once a week out on the town with their significant other. So you appeal to that.
Yeah, entertainment has several different dimensions to it. It's an interesting part of the meconomics model. And if you understand the different dimensions, you can pick the one that's right for your business. Entertainment can be, it's like a chuckle fest. It's as much fun as going bowling and out for pizza. But entertaining can also be just an enjoyable customer shopping experience. We've heard a lot about the customer experience being critical at retail and in sales.
Is that the concept between like Bass Pro Shop and all these places?
Cabela's. Yeah, I have a daughter who takes her family to Cabela's when they want a fun afternoon because let's go look at the taxidermy and the fish and all the fun things that you can do inside of Cabela's, especially in the winter.
And it's inexpensive. They don't have a cover charge.
Right.
But chances are you will probably end up buying something.
That's sure the idea. They're providing an entertaining experience. Entertainment can also mean a simple experience. Think about the last time you bought a car. If you financed the car, it takes you a half hour to negotiate the car. Then it takes 2 hours to do all the paperwork on the financing.
Or
right?
4 or 5, right.
Is that an enjoyable experience? If somebody could turn that into a 15-minute fun experience, or at least simple experience, they'd have a competitive advantage versus other car dealers. So a very powerful part of it. Either it's fun in the experience, the product or the service are fun, like an amusement park, or it's a simplified experience giving you competitive advantage versus other businesses.
And then the pamper part, I get that. People do like to be pampered. I can think of, let's say, marketing to a group of men your spa services. I guess I could see how you could do that and say, we're going to pamper you. You deserve this. Come on in.
Sport Clips. What's their slogan? It's good to be a guy. Right? That's a pamper
Sometimes.
aspect. When you're at Sports Clips, it is.
Right, right.
Sports on the TV, hot towel, haircut, attention.
Right.
We like to be pampered.
Okay. And then going back to the so like a neighborhood nail place, they could embrace this, correct?
Absolutely. Who are you appealing to? Self-image, the person who always wants to look their best. So you target that way because it's probably not cheap, right? So it's not a cost savings approach unless that's your particular niche in the nail salon industry.
You want to look good, but you want to save some money.
Yeah. So you might divide it up even a little further, but your basic customer is the customer who wants to look good and says, I'm deserving of some treatment. Pamper me works its way in. And if you've got music they enjoy playing, you're playing the entertain card as well. I talk in terms of 3 lenses, but the more of them you can employ, the better off you are.
So, so how do you do this?
Let's start with your marketing.
Okay.
Think about your target customers. Why start with the customer? Because they have the money. So let's start with the target customer, whatever the size of your business.
Okay.
Right? Who are they, and what do you think their self-images are? iPhones, for example, one of my favorite cases. Whenever a new iPhone comes out, there's data that says 80% of the sales of a new iPhone go to people who already own an iPhone. Why? Because they're early adopters. They're technophilic people. They like the latest, the newest. They got to have it, even though the old one works just fine, right? So you understand the self-image of your target customers and build that into your marketing. Then you go back and look at your marketing, your taglines, your log lines, longer description of who you are, your website, your social media strategies. Do they target? Do you have messaging that targets those people? When I talk about social media, it's not so much about the mechanics and which platform should I be on, but what's your message that you're delivering through social media.
But how do you determine how do you determine your target customer? And, how did Apple determine, for example, that this is the group that we want to go after and this is how we're going to go after them?
They play a technology and an entertainment strategy when they introduce a new iPhone. The last several iPhones that have been introduced never mentioned in their initial advertising the fact that you can use it to make a call. It was an entertainment platform that lets you make a call. So they figured out that people want entertainment from their phone, even to the point of texting and all the things you do on the phone are entertaining because they keep you occupied.
Sure.
And you keep coming back to it. So you experiment. I mean, any business, when it's trying to establish a new business, is thinking about what market am I going after? What are the characteristics of my target customer? They typically do the demographics, age, gender, location. I talk in terms of the emographics, add the two together, and it'll focus you in. I've analyzed that there are 6, 7, 8 different fundamental self-images that those recession-proof companies and many others are using, from the do-it-yourselfer to the I deserve it, to the early adopter, to the I want to be pampered, I'm unique, and several others. So from that list, you can then pick the ones you're going to target, might be more than one, and make sure the messaging in your marketing is aimed at those self-images.
Is there data out there that shows you how many customers are out there in those different categories?
Well, there's large-scale data that do that, but I think you have to think a little locally.
Okay.
And really do your own research and your own thinking. And it may be as simple as, look at your customers from the last couple months. What have you noticed about them? What do they seem to be primarily interested in? And therefore, that's their self-image.
Yeah, because we sell ho-hum banking products. Give me an idea of how a bank could use this concept to better sell their products.
Well, I'd look at the types of business you do. Look at your loans, for example. What percentage of your loans are going to small businesses? What percentage are private loans? What percentage are car loans? And from that, what kind of cars are people buying? And you extract information about self-image by digging down into your own customer base.
Okay, so an entrepreneurial customer base. I guess you appeal to the thrill of the transaction, the likelihood of success, and all those kinds of things that
share the dream.
Yeah.
Right. The entrepreneur has a dream, and business is going to make them rich, serve a lot of people, help the community, whatever that characteristics and makeup are. You go after them with your advertising because you're helping them make that dream come true.
Okay. This is On the Money, and you're listening to Joe Moss, and I'm your moderator, and we're talking with Brian Gracon, Brian Gracon Associates, and we're talking about a concept called meconomics, which is understanding consumer buying habits to improve your sales. But we're talking about examples of companies that never really experienced the recession, and I thought how curious that was. Luxury car dealers we talked about. Let's talk about coffee shops. Let's talk about Starbucks. I mean, how do they create that want to spend 75% more for a cup of coffee?
You can pick how many different combinations in a Starbucks, right? Are they appealing to the self-image that says, I'm unique? Absolutely. You can have it exactly what you want. Think back to the old Burger King days. Have it your way, right? Well, they've taken that even further with all the different combinations and sizes and treatments and flavors that you can get when you go to Starbucks. So they are definitely appealing to the self-image that says, I'm unique, I'm an individual, and I'm willing to pay for that because I can get exactly what I want.
And I'm amazed every time I go to McDonald's on the weekend for breakfast, and somehow I got to fight through the Starbucks drive-through line before I can get to McDonald's. But it's just interesting how we've convinced ourselves that we got to have that $8 cup of coffee.
That's right. Well, your self-image requires it, right? And they're appealing to that self-image. They're also providing an environment, right? I've heard Starbucks described as a modern-day saloon. That's where you go to hang out. It was one of the first places to put free Wi-Fi available to people. Let's just hang out and chat and socialize at Walmart. Instead of going to the mall or to a restaurant, we'll go to Starbucks. And so there's an entertainment dimension to what they offer and market as well.
Okay. Brian, you've written a book. I have a copy of it. So talk about Meconomics 101. What can we get out of this?
Okay. The question I often get from other folks is, why did you write the book? So let me start there.
Okay.
Many businesses have multi-million-dollar marketing budgets, but most businesses don't. There's over 25 million small businesses in the United States. They don't have multi-million-dollar marketing budgets. So what I've done by analyzing recession-proof companies and many other companies I've studied since the recession is distill from that these three Meconomics lenses: self-image, entertain, and pamper. And my objective with the book is to make those strategies available to every business in the country. Because after all, every business is competing for the same consumer dollars as Coca-Cola and Walmart are competing for consumer dollars. So I've tried to make that available in a book that takes those three lenses and applies them to marketing and the selling process and to business management with an integrated set of strategies. That's a little bit unique.
Talk about some case studies. We always talk about the big winners. We talk about Mercedes. We talk about Starbucks. But let's talk about some companies that didn't get it and some of the mistakes that they made.
Well, I'd rather talk about successes.
You learn more from mistakes sometimes.
You do, and I don't have a whole lot of that to share right now.
Okay.
My focus has been on the successes.
Let's talk about some wins then.
Okay. Let me give you a few examples of people that are doing Meconomics kind of strategy. They just didn't know it because I hadn't developed that umbrella trademark at the time. Tax Act, when it comes to self-image, their slogan is, you got this, right? They're appealing to your capability, that part of a self-image. GoPro cameras, their slogan is, be a hero. I thought I was just shooting movies. No, I'm going to be a hero. Oikos Greek yogurt, their slogan is, be unstoppable. Did you know you could be unstoppable if you ate their yogurt? Apparently. At least that's what they're appealing to in terms of slogans. On the entertainment side, my favorite Super Bowl commercial was the Honda Ridgeline commercial this past Super Bowl. Not because I thought it was such a wonderful commercial, but the only thing they talked about in their truck commercial was the fact that they had speakers in the bed of the truck. So if you go to a ball game and you're doing a tailgate, boy, you've got a better entertainment system. A car has become an entertainment system that takes you places.
What company was this?
That was the Honda Ridgeline truck.
Wow.
In the most recent commercial. Pillsbury, right before the Christmas holiday this past year, their slogan was, "Get to holiday fun faster." Making cookies is apparently about the fun of making the cookies, but let's get this over with so we can get on to the fun stuff.
Let's talk about that one for a minute. What were they trying to accomplish with the Doughboy? And then they're kind of moving away from the Doughboy. I understand moving away. I guess I understand. Let's have fun baking cookies. But how did you have any thoughts about how the Doughboy figured into all that?
I think they were appealing to a soft, fun image as well at the time. That goes back quite a ways, right? But they want you to feel good about it, and it's something that's squishy. It's like marshmallows almost, Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, same kind of concept.
Easy, and nobody's being critical. It's easy to do.
Yeah, and don't you just want to give them a hug, right? They're appealing to that. And you're the mom, that was the target at the time, who feels that way and wants to hug the whole family. I can give them a hug through Pillsbury materials. And you know what? It's easy. It doesn't make a mess. It's quick, and I can spend more time with my family.
All right, let's keep going down the list. This is good.
Pringles potato chips, another one of my current favorites.
I have no idea how those things created a want. To tell us about that.
Their current slogan.
They're really not that good.
Yeah, their current slogan is,
like 'em.
You don't just eat them, you duck lip them. And they show a picture of a woman with 2 Pringles potato chips in her mouth so that they make duck lips. It's about entertainment. You buy Pringles so you can have fun fooling around with them. That's their message. Not unlike that, Frito-Lay, one of their current marketing campaigns, says, taste something fun.
That's why they're doing all these different kinds of flavors.
Mm-hmm. Fun, right?
Yeah.
It's an entertainment strategy for a food stuff.
Have jalapeno and cheese. Try it.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
Okay.
different, adventure, exciting, fun, right? And on the pamper side, one commercial that's out right now is the Dodge Ram truck. Shows a guy sitting in front of a barn on a bench, and the slogan is, you don't have to be a king to be treated like one. Get yourself a Dodge Ram truck. Is that pamper or what? Boar's Head Lunch Meats. Do you think they would have a pamper campaign? They do. Their slogan is compromise elsewhere.
Well,
get yourself
that's a
Boar's
good
Head
point.
Meats.
Yeah.
And, of course, they're not the cheapest available. But you know what? Compromise elsewhere. Samsung, another great example of not the phones that are having all the problems, but Samsung's refrigerators. You may have seen commercials for a refrigerator that has a video camera inside the refrigerator, and you can communicate with it off your phone. You can be at the grocery store and check to see if you need any eggs. It's the Samsung Family Hub refrigerator.
I've not seen that.
I don't know that we need that, but that is, if you want to pamper yourself and get style as well as the latest technology, if that's your self-image, you're an early adopter, you want to be treated well, then let's go with Samsung Family Hub refrigerator.
That's a good example of companies that have kind of failed. Is Sears trying to sell a refrigerator? I think they just said, well, everybody has to have a refrigerator. Let's just sell them. But they didn't create any kind of a image with it, have they?
Right. And Samsung has taken their technology brand, right, and applied it to an appliance in a way that nobody else has yet. I'm sure they'll be coming, right? Somehow it'll be a self-cooking refrigerator someday, just like we're getting self-driving cars and trucks and everything else right now. But they've taken that technology brand and applied it to an appliance. Mm-hmm. So they're appealing to the person who likes technology, to the early adopter. It's a millennials strategy, and they're not cheap, right? But boy, are they cool. Watch this. Look, you can see my eggs on my phone.
Right, and my time is very important as well.
That's right.
Right.
And I can't be bothered to open the door and look.
Well, I only have a few minutes to duck in here, and I've got to get what I need. Keep going. You got any more?
Oh, sure. How about Benihana restaurants? Their campaign is Experience Benihana. That's where you have the chef cutting and slicing and dicing and tossing things in the air. I haven't seen them around
very much anymore.
Yeah, they're still around.
Okay.
And they're still doing the same show. They're all about the show. They never talk about the food, the nutrition, all that sort of stuff. It's about the show. The guy tosses things into his hat. He sets a little volcano on fire in front of you.
That's what the copycats are all trying to do. And but I see the copycats, though, have started cutting their prices because, as you know, you go into one of those things, you see the steak on there for like $25, But now they're coming down with all these specials and still doing it. But keep going.
Still having to work there. Back to self-image. One of my current favorites is General Nutrition Centers, GNC. Their slogan is beat average. Now, is that appealing to your self-image if you're somewhat health conscious?
Sure.
If you don't use our materials, you're going to be average. Well, that's not too exciting. Walgreens, their slogan right now is whatever makes you feel beautiful. It's not about get your aspirin. It's not about getting foot cream, right? Their slogan is whatever makes you feel beautiful, self-image, and pamper to some degree.
And by the way, while you're in here, you can pick up all your prescriptions and everything else.
And a gallon of milk.
What is CVS doing, as an example?
I'm not sure. I'll have to look that up. Walgreens caught my
Convenience.
eye. I never watch television without having a pad of paper nearby because I see a commercial, it gets jotted down and gets added to the list.
I think CVS is selling convenience, are they not?
Well, and they're also doing the Minute Clinic. So they have a strategy that really goes after the medical treatment.
The flu shots and all that other
the
stuff.
The flu shots and get wax out of your ears and whatever else you need done. And while you're waiting, you're walking the aisles and you're grabbing this and you're grabbing that. So they've got a strategy that appeals to health conscious. Yes, it sure does.
Target. Doesn't the Target have a good one?
Again, I'm not sure what that one is right now. But how about Sprint phones? I have the right to be unlimited. Do you have a right to be unlimited in terms of your data plan?
About that. What happens to your plan when you go in and say, okay, I got unlimited data with Sprint, but then you realize you got to run somewhere in order to try to find a spot?
And that's why they're all advertising now. Well, we're everywhere too, and we're within 1% of those other guys. They've tried taking that out of the equation so that other parts of the offering.
Well, we went for the Sprint thing, and you would think that a place like North Fulton County would be well covered by Sprint. Well, it's not. It's one of their weakest areas.
Yeah. We mentioned the Apple iPhone earlier. I want to dwell a little bit deeper on that. I happened to be in the North Point Mall here in Atlanta the day that one of the new iPhones was released several years ago. And there was a feature on Atlanta local news about all the lines and the crowds and the excitement and so forth. And they interviewed people who were buying a new iPhone. And I remember a couple of the interviews because they really struck me. One of the interviews was, I'm getting this new phone because I deserve it. I don't know that any of us really deserve anything, but we convince ourselves that we do,
don't we?
Yeah, we worked hard, and other people are working hard too.
I made the mistake of saying that about something with my wife, and it was not a pleasant conversation after that. You don't deserve anything. But
yeah, another person said, if I have this new phone, everybody will think I'm cool. There's no stronger statement of a self-image.
Well, it's something to talk about, certainly. I got the new phone.
That's right. And, and hey, aren't you jealous, right? Another one, this one really struck me, was a person that said, I think God wants me to have this phone. And I'm thinking, well, you've got a certain self-image about your relationship and, the things that God has to worry about these days. But, okay, if that's what you think, whatever it took. But if you think about that, self-image is all over why people are buying.
And then going back to the original Steve Jobs concept of the phone, he said, I'm going to make it an extension of your hand. I think that's what his initial push was, I believe. Mm-hmm. Everything will be at your hand. So it was about accessibility, being able to do everything right there.
Well, and, take it one step further. Years ago, it was the Dick Tracy comics, and Dick Tracy had a wrist radio. And now everybody has an iWatch or whatever brand they have. It's there. Right. It's arrived. It'll be beaming us somewhere soon. Thank you, Scotty. Yeah.
Right.
For Star Trek fans.
Any more? And we'll get on to something else. I mean, it's interesting.
And the point, I think, is what can small businesses and even large businesses do that's similar? The point
I'm just sitting there kind of rolling through. I'm thinking of a little ma and pa hotel. We bank a lot of hoteliers. What can they think? They may be listening and going, well, this doesn't really pertain to me. But it does, because you can market to your local neighborhood about you deserve to be pampered, mm-hmm. or let's go have some fun this weekend, or any one of those things. So you're really not talking about, hey, I have a hotel. You're going to market to a want or a self-image or an entertainment piece.
I have an experience I can offer that satisfied an emotional need. Mm-hmm. If you approach it that way, I think you're going to market and operate very differently than if it's just a transaction.
Yeah.
There was a time where somebody was first to be able to slip a bill under your door so that you didn't have to wait in line in the morning and check out.
Correct.
Right?
Right.
Now everybody does that. But at the time, that was something that pampered people. Avoid the line, right? Mm-hmm. We've got your information. You can just boogie on out of here. Think about your experience, your processes, how you operate and interact with customers. That's the sales process or the selling part of Meconomics. When you make a change, does it make the process more enjoyable for the customer? That's a fundamental question I would ask. And if the answer is no, I would reevaluate that change. What can I do to make it more enjoyable?
Interesting choice of words. You didn't say easier. You didn't say cheaper. You said enjoyable.
Yeah. Don't think about how you're saving money, how you're avoiding one computer, or you can lay off your IT guy because now you've outsourced the operation or whatever. What's the impact on the customer? Has it made it more enjoyable? There was an element of entertainment that I said earlier was easier or simpler. But in general, what's the impact on the customer? Don't look internal. Look at the customer. They're the ones making the money move.
Interesting. Well, you're listening to On the Money. We're talking with Brian Gracon, and we're talking about Meconomics, or basically analyzing consumer buying habits. And it's very, very interesting. I can tell you, Brian, that I'm more of an analytical guy, but you're certainly opening up my eyes here about how people really market stuff.
Well, my dirty little secret is I used to be an engineer before I got into the marketing world 20 years ago. But don't tell anybody else. Only 150 to 400,000 of your listeners.
At least you know how things work, right?
That's right. And so I do analyze things as well, which brings me back to the hotel as a good example of the third part of Meconomics, the business management part. I focus in on hiring and training and coaching of people from a Meconomics perspective. So if I'm interviewing people to join the staff at my hotel, I might ask them questions like, how do you feel about interacting with customers who want to be pampered? And if somebody says, oh, I can't stand that, they drive me crazy, well, maybe you've just disqualified yourself.
Right.
So think about self-image. You might ask that person, what's your self-image? From this list, what's your self-image? And who do you think you would get along well with? And if that doesn't match up with your target customer self-image base, maybe you look somewhere else. When it comes time to entertainment, in an interview I might ask, give me an example of when you made shopping really fun for a customer. Or give me an example of when the customer told you, that was a great time and they're going to keep coming back to you instead of going somewhere else because those other people were difficult.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing I'm learning here is that it's not about the transaction. It's about the feeling around the transaction. That's how you differentiate yourself.
The experience, absolutely. And so I also recommend that people look at their whole sales process, all the way from greeting a customer to following up after a sale or a transaction, and what's going on inside that process from a Meconomics perspective. I don't like the word qualifying. Classic sales process has qualify the customer. That means learn about the customer. I like using the word learning because you know what? The customer's already qualified. They've qualified themselves by going online and investigating you. If anything, the customer is qualifying you, not the other way around. So I like learning about the customer.
And we only have a couple minutes. We've kind of flown through this, but we haven't talked about. We've talked a lot about business to consumer, but business to business, I'm sure a lot of the same concepts, I would think.
Sure. When you talk business to business, you're still people to people, right?
Sure.
So the emotional drivers, why people make their buying decisions still applies. But you get a little bit different twist. When it comes to business, instead of self-image, I'll talk about brands. What's the customer's brand? What's your brand? Is there synergy? Do they mesh? That's what self-image is about because it's captured in your brand.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When I talk about entertain, it's about the simplicity of the process because you are more transactionally oriented, although a lot of business gets done at entertainment venues. And so there's a reason for that, and it's the entertain lens of Meconomics. And when I talk about pampering, I think in terms of give your customer a unique solution, something that's tailored right for them. Don't give them the solution that's easiest for you because it's standard, it's stock, it's in inventory. Give them a custom solution and see if they have enough value for it to do the transaction with you.
Okay.
So I spin it a little differently, business to business.
Yeah, and not everybody has to have the lowest price, do they?
Absolutely not. You talked earlier about McDonald's and Starbucks side by side.
Yeah.
Starbucks coffee costs what, 4, 5, 6 times as much as McDonald's coffee, and people buy it.
It's unbelievable.
Because of the experience and all these other things that we've encapsulated in Meconomics.
Right. Well, the other thing you do, I've noticed in what you've given me before the show was you do a lot of blogging of real life examples and case studies that people can really learn from.
Sure, I try breaking these concepts down into bite-sized chunks. And so I'm a pretty active blogger on LinkedIn. That's my primary platform.
Uh-huh.
I have a group about retail sales and training and economics, approaching my 50th blog in the last year and a half on LinkedIn, so I'm pretty active there.
Good
and
for
people
you.
can get bite-sized chunks, things they can do today. I will never write a book that somebody leaves saying, now what do I do? Instead, it's here's tools, here's tactics, here's techniques. That's 20 years of training, where it's about skill development, and I try building that into the book.
Okay. You mentioned LinkedIn, so tell everybody where they can get in touch with you.
Look up my profile on LinkedIn, or find a LinkedIn group that's called Increase Retail Sales, Training, and Meconomics.
Okay.
That's where you'll find the group, and all the blogs are posted. They're also accessible through my LinkedIn profile.
All right, and tell everybody about how they can get a hold of this book.
The book is published by an independent publisher called Black Rose Writing. And you can go to blackrosewriting.com and look the book up. And the publisher has offered a 20% discount on the print version of the book for listeners to your show, Joe.
Okay.
All they have to do is use the code MONEY, seems appropriate, when they're ordering the book, and they'll get a 20% discount. Meconomics 101, and it's available at blackrosewriting.com.
Okay, and that's probably out on LinkedIn as well in terms of the link. Is that correct?
And it's on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and all the usual places.
All these
as well.
places are.
Right.
Okay.
The discount is only available through the publisher.
Through the publisher. Okay. Okay, everybody. I've learning an awful lot here about how people are really selling me, and how the bank and myself can sell other people. So it's been a very interesting show. So, Brian, I'll give you the last word here.
Well, it's about meeting the customer's needs. We've always talked about benefits. Why should the customer buy from you? Instead of features and benefits type selling, Meconomics is all about something I call backwards. Make sure you're delivering benefits before you talk about features, and the benefits are the emotional benefits the customer gets. That's why companies were recession-proof, many of them not too long ago, and their strategies are captured in Meconomics and made available to your listeners.
And then creating this experience around a transaction can make you unique.
Absolutely. How you market to people, how you conduct the transaction, and then how you follow up afterwards, and who you hire to be part of your team to provide that for the customer.
Okay. Brian, let everybody know your email.
The email is Gracon Associates. That's Gracon, Gracon like bacon, Associates plural, and that's all one word, Gracon Associates, at etcmail.com.
And your website?
Website is meconomics101.com.
There you go. Okay, good. Well, listen, this has been a good show, and I really appreciate you coming down. We talked a little bit about Ellijay before we came on the show. As you know, I lived up there for a while, but it's been a real nice conversation, and I really thank you for coming down.
It's my pleasure to talk to you and your listeners.
So that's this segment of On the Money. This is Joe Moss, your moderator. It's brought to you by Embassy National Bank. And just remember, it's about the experience. Create the experience around your transaction. And go to these websites, get this book. Find Brian out on LinkedIn, and he'll share a lot of good secrets with you. So until next time, have a good next couple of weeks.